So we're here in Greenville, South Carolina. It's the third leg of the SME MT series of trade shows. And I'm with our panel. Today we talked about, just like we have in Springfield, just like we have in Anaheim, and talked about today, manufacturing technology and how it can help overcome some of the common concerns that U.S. manufacturers have. So I'm going to ask the group here real quickly, what are some of the things, like the common themes that we've been hearing, would you say, and share with the audience that'll watch this video? What do you think? We'll start, Bill, a common theme that we're hearing in the questions and the feedback and the interest.
Well, I think it's the obvious. You know, the labor, to me, the skills gap seems to be most pronounced, but when you're sitting on a panel as prestigious as these guys, and we start talking about the speed of technology and where it's going today, it really gets them engaged in, especially when you bring up the term AI. You know, certain people are still petrified of the AI and scared it's going to replace jobs in the US, but if they could embrace it and understand it, and I think that's what this panel does a really good job of doing.
Excellent. Luis, what do you think, bud?
Yeah, I would say one common theme was people trying to understand where should we start? How do we get started, right? And trying to help them understand that you don't have to have your data all in a perfect place and everything perfectly aligned to get started. So there are ways to get started with very little cost, help you kind of get some benefits out of technology early on, and more importantly, start learning how to use technology. The point I made to people, get started because the technology is going to improve every month, and therefore the more you know now, the better you are to take leverage or take advantage of the technology improvements over time.
One of the questions I heard was, how do I get started if my data isn't good? How do I get, if I don't have everything in my entire shop figured out, all the roles, every single step they take, how do I then apply AI to that? And what we discussed as a potential way to potentially kind of think about changing the approach is not how do I take the hardest possible problem and apply some technology to solve it and do all this homework to put me in a place to be able to do that, but rather, what is the easy, low-hanging fruit that I can figure out, and how do I think about some principles that I can apply to that? One of the main things we talked about was, what are the mundane tasks that AI might be really good to start solving, things like data entry, or just flagging individual things that come up during the day that people might miss if they don't have a system helping them with that.
Excellent, thanks guys. We'll be back at it in Dallas in a couple weeks for the Southwest version of the MT series shows. And once again, be prepared for us to talk about the prevailing concerns of US manufacturers and how technology applies. We're talking about things that can help shops grow their business year over year. What technology investments can help them flourish into the future? What technologies can help them become more profitable and more competitive on a global or national stage? And then the manufacturing skills gap continues to be pervasive. And you hear, some of the questions and responses from the guys just now really starts to go down that road of productivity and getting the most out of the really great people and the great machines that we have. So we'll look forward to continuing to do this, and I think it's been great so far. So thanks, guys.